All right. Hi, Sandeep. Uh, nice to meet you. I'm Alok, as you know. Could you say a few words about yourself?
Uh, so, uh, Hi guys, I am Sandeep, and I am the co-founder and COO at Matic Network. I also come from a technical background, but at Matic, I am taking care of more about the technology, the partnerships and marketing, branding, community management, and investments and whatnot. So,
Right.
yeah.
I'm a co-founder of Harmony. I'm also a technical person. Until recently, I was a core protocol developer on the team, and now I'm increasingly looking into product. Yeah. So, Sandeep, how did you get into blockchain?
Okay. So, back in 2016, I was doing a startup called Scope Weaver. So it was a B2B marketplace, and it was hitting scaling issues,
Mhm.
and because it was becoming more of a service-oriented model. And at that time, I was looking for some, upcoming technologies where, I can build scalable, business. Like, the scaling part has been, part of my mind for a long time. So I was looking to build a scalable business, and at that time I started reading about artificial intelligence and blockchain and all that, and then I was reading Mastering Bitcoin, right? And everybody, like everybody else, there is a aha moment for everyone. So I also had that, and I was like, dude, I don't want to do anything else now. This is what I'm going to dedicate my life for. And that's when, then I fell into the rabbit hole, and still falling every day.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
We know that Matic is a layer two network, and why layer two? And can you tell us what a layer two network really is?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, see, most of the projects, like including Matic, Harmony, everyone is trying to essentially solve one big problem of blockchain, which is the scalability, right? You guys are solving it at the layer one, we guys are solving it at the layer two. Essentially, everybody is looking to do that. But on our side, on our end, specifically at layer two, what we have always believed is that, so layer one, let's say, like a very highly scalable blockchain like Harmony, like for example, what's the TPS that you guys are targeting, for example? Like
Targeting, we aspire for 1 million TPS, but yeah.
yeah, so million TPS with a full decentralized kind of in all the shards and all that will be like slightly difficult. But the more decentralized shards of yours would have, let's say, maybe 100,000 or half a
Mhm.
million kind of number of transactions, and
Mhm.
incoming in future. So, but even then, if you see, so I see that in blockchains people compare the 50,000 transactions to that of Mastercard network and all that, but they
Yeah.
don't realize that Mastercard's 50,000 transactions are for Mastercard transactions only,
Yeah.
right? It's not, Mastercard is not saying that it's the world computer build every application on that. So once blockchain starts becoming mainstream, and large number of, or maybe most applications in the world are building on blockchains, then even like half a million transactions would not be sufficient enough. So what we believe in a future is that layer ones, which one would be the successful ones, be it Ethereum, Bitcoin, bigger one like the other ones, Tron, EOS, Harmony, and all the other layer one protocols that are coming up. uh, you know it would more be a more of a, like a, last man standing, or few top ones will emerge out of you guys. And these layer ones will be settlement layers, so these will be the backbones. Layer ones will be the backbones, but then the application computations and transactions will happen off chain on layer 2. That's what we believe. Of course, everyone has a different philosophy over there. So that's what is our strategic outlook, is that layer ones, because we are also very in terms of layer ones, we are agnostic. Architecturally we are agnostic. Of course, we come from Ethereum background, and Ethereum was kind of the first love for us in blockchain, so we came from there. But our architecture is agnostic. It can accommodate any layer ones which starts becoming successful. And then overall, our objective is that layer 2 since it has multiple layer ones in between, it also serves as a interoperability arena. Like for example, you have Ethereum, you have Harmony, and imagine, the assets from Harmony and Ethereum can, come on a same platform on a layer 2, and then there are interoperability features. But these are all like, big talk and long term things. But that's one of the strategic sort of thought process over there.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense, right? Uh, to operate on top of a layer one and then really optimize that, then you become agnostic and you could just go to whichever good scalable solutions are out there. Hopefully, Harmony is one of them, and that makes sense. And I think for people watching this video, I would just say a few things about layer one, and then we can go into layer two and continue the conversation. So we started obviously with the extremely ambitious dream of doing 1 million transactions per second. I think back then we were not the first, but among the first protocols who were looking at sharding as a serious solution to scalability. And so that was one of our, pillars of building this foundation. We had a very clear strategy of trying to optimize the blockchain at every stage, better networking, better scalability, better horizontal and vertical scalability. And we thought that if we optimize it at each of these layers, we would get about 100x at each of them, and overall we would get 1 million. So that journey started with reading top quality research papers and trying to copy the best ideas. Even if you go in our community now or elsewhere, what we try to do is we pride ourselves as execution people, and we take the best ideas in blockchain and try to implement them. So we started off with a paper called OmniLedger, and we started off building our blockchain in a sharded way, and that was the key insight. And then we progressed on to copying ideas from very good papers like Rapid Chain, and now it has become that we just take good ideas from everywhere, right? So one of the key things that we did was we became a PBFT based protocol, which ensures instant finality. In fact, we went ahead and improved on PBFT and what we call FBFT, which is where you use BLS signatures to sort of make the protocol much faster. And before I go further, I wanted to say that we are a POS sharded chain. So to enter the network, you need to put up stake, and once you are accepted, the consensus happens by PBFT. So, and it's built completely ground up, and we did several benchmarks, and we recently released our mainnet. So that is layer one. Layer two, obviously, on top of something like layer one, makes it very exciting. And I was before this, I was looking up layer two solutions that were available, right, Sandeep? And I see that Matic has gone with Plasma. And were there other options you considered? I know you have clearly expressed your love for Ethereum. We all did. So can you tell us something about that?
Yeah. So I mean, one thing is that taking a step back. So layer two comprises of sort of 2-3 different kind of approaches. So one of the primary approaches was state channels, and the most explored one. So Bitcoin Lightning Network is a state channel implementation. And then in the Ethereum side also, you have very famous projects like Counterfactual is there. Even our Binance family seller network is there, right? So these are very good projects, working on that. Connects network, Arjun is a great guy. So these all teams are working on state channel based projects. Then there are the second the part was the side chain projects. So on the side chain, so Vitalik and Joseph Foon, who's also the co-author of Lightning Network, they came up with some guidelines. So Plasma is not a technology. It's I don't even call it a framework now. I call it more of a philosophy. Not philosophy. I mean, I don't have a good word for it, but it's sort of set of guidelines that how you should do off-chain computation. And essentially, for very layman kind of understanding, it essentially asks you to do 2-3 things. One thing is that the users should be able to claim their ownership of the assets on the side chain via the main chain itself. So the ownership is ensured not only by the side chain but by the main chain also, because the side chain will always have less amount of security in terms of the pos, in terms of the stakes that it will have, and the actors that will have it is automatically is derived from one particular layer one, right? Uh, so due to that, the plasma asks that the ownership still has to be ensured by the main chain, so you need to have cryptographic methods to do that. The second one is that you should be able to prove some of the computation, and that, which is the bigger like kind of objective, is to you should be able to prove the computation that is happening on the side chain on the main chain itself, and if there are any discrepancies found, you should be able to penalize the actors who are doing this. So that's why like plasma, we wanted to, we come from the like sort of the one of the first plasma implementers group. So our CEO Jayanti, like he was the first guy who implemented plasma MVP spec at that time. And we had some different ideas in terms of implementing how plasma should be implemented by that time. Or Omise Go was developing, so we were also the part of the plasma group. And we realized that the UTXO based approach that the other teams were following had some issues, although it offered some short term benefits, but in the long term it had like adoption and those kind of issues. And then we started to be as the first on the layer 2 EVM based plasma. At that time many people are like EVM can't, like how can you have EVM on EVM, generic transactions are not solvable and this and that. But then we always believed in that in some time the solutions to the remaining problems will also come. So we solved a lot of problems at that time, and then now there is a time there we have now plasma predicates and things coming up on the sidelines, in terms of the research, which seems to be closer to be making any kind of transaction on the sidechain to be plasma verified. So initially the transfers, the asset ownerships and all that, ownership transfers and all that, they were plasma security guaranteed. But now with these emerging patterns like plasma predicates, we were also researching on something called EVM on EVM sort of process, where you can entirely take the code from the sidechain, and then people can have a binary sort of true bit kind of game, and then you can verify a particular opcode on the main chain, and challenge the executioner over there. So those things have now evolved, and now people are realizing that, hey, what we have been building now, it becomes like a a very viable solution. Like now I call Matic as a Ethereum on top of Ethereum, right? So you have a faster Ethereum running on top of a smaller Ethereum. If some layman asks me, I simply tell them that. And now once you have that Ethereum plus Matic kind of combination, then a lot of problems that the developers were facing, especially for the dApp developers and all, starts getting solved. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about the maturity of the plasma framework, and we can definitely dig into that.
Yeah, sure.
Is there something you would like to know about Harmony?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the interesting things that I find, and you guys have done, is also that you guys are also supporting EVM on the Harmony chain, and it will make Solidity developers to be able to use that. And that's, I think, is a very good strategic step that that has given us also a lot of success and in terms of adoption. And I was like, before the call, I was telling you that in India, almost all the projects are now, on Matic Network. All the top projects are there, and even on the outside, you have Decentraland and many top projects building. And we keep, like, every week we announce at least 1 or 2 projects that are building on Matic. So that is very, very good step from your side. Once you are there on more of a like a phase 2 mainnet that and a phase 3 mainnet that you have planned, I think that you guys will also start seeing, traction from the existing Solidity developers, because, the fact is that most of the developers in this space are Solidity developers, and, they like the language, or even if they don't like the language, but they are used to it. And most of the developers are in that place. Yeah. So I think that's one important step. And then, in terms of like, one important thing I wanted to understand is that you guys, so we say, you guys say that this is a fully sharded, blockchain. So I have a rough idea that there is something called transaction sharding, and then there is something called state sharding, and maybe one or two more kind of that. And but I think you guys claim to be fully sharded. That means you have all the kinds of sharding. So I would like to, like you to put some light on that.
So that is a good question, and you're right. We are transaction sharded. What that means is a transaction is goes to a particular shard and is settled there. The other shards don't know about it, especially if it's not a cross-shard transaction. We are also state sharded, which means the state, a particular shard maintains its own state. It only contacts with beacon chain for block header kind of communication, but it is maintaining its own state.
Okay.
And yeah, that's basically the. There's one more sharding I think I'm forgetting right now, but it's basically that it's almost as if every shard is its own chain.
Okay, got it. And then you also mentioned something like, you focus both on horizontal and vertical sharding. What was that?
Vertical scaling. What we meant by that is horizontal scaling is sharding, so that you increase your throughput, right? And horizontal is vertical is making it easy for you to run it on any possible system, and making it it's more about latency, so that
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, got it.
We copied that from the distributed systems paradigm.
Yeah. I mean, that's the spirit of open source. I think, you have good ideas. I mean, if you go about reinventing the wheel every time, then you're not progressing the world. So I think I love that fact that you guys are, taking ideas, the good ideas, well researched ideas from multiple areas, and then, combining them and adding your own innovation on top of it, and, bringing out something which is really, which was really different. And and congrats on, I think Vitalik also reviewed your some part of this, and he had some, I think, one good thing to say about some interesting part. Because I don't come from the sharding background, so I don't have much technical information about it. And since the last 1 year, I'm like more focused on all the non-tech activities in the space. So like slightly outdated on that, but I'll soon catch up. Yeah, so that's good. I mean, on Harmony's part. uh, and since you guys are also supporting EVM, who knows, like once you start getting more and more traction, more applications are building on you, and then you want layer 2, like Matic, which is actually built on an EVM.
Yeah.
It's like child's play for us to have a layer 2 available for Harmony also, once you guys reach that stage. Yeah, so it's pretty good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome, Sandeep. So, from the point of view of what is coming ahead, what are your how is Matic going about it, and maybe why in that direction?
Yeah, I think, in terms of our protocol development, the stage one, like we already launched alpha mainnet, and large parts of it are developed now. It's more about bringing out the staking, and then bringing out the fees mechanisms, and meta transactions and all that. Now focusing and solidifying more and more on the user experience things that we wanted to do, plus staking network. Now we have to start taking the network to the next level, like more and more decentralizing it, adding more and more validators and all that. So now will be the, like, in the next 2-3 months, that will be our idea. Bring out the staking game sort of stuff also. And because the audit and all that is going is on, and we want to be like audited multiple times and be absolutely sure about the security at least to a certain extent. And of course security is an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, still we want to be like absolutely battle tested on that. And I think by that time there are already a lot of teams who are deploying their applications in some form on the on Matic Network. So we hope that in some time it will be more and more battle tested. And well, yeah, once that is there, I think the focus is completely on on adoption. And I like at times say to my community that there are so many applications building on Matic right now.
Yeah.
Like you'll get bored. Like you'll get bored of those announcements. I keep saying that you'll get bored of those announcements, because my job is like I'm full time on that. So simply my relentless focus is on building on making bringing people to to build on Matic. And of course Jayanti and Anurag also are very well connected in the industry, especially in the Ethereum industry. And scalability is the need of the hour. So yeah, that's and the biggest advantage for us is the the sort of piggybacking, because we complement Ethereum. So
Mm.
everything that is developing on Ethereum automatically, we are like a tool for them to use. So yeah, that
So
way. That those,
when can we expect a full mainnet? Do you guys have a date for that?
yeah. So I think our beta mainnet should be there in Q3, and then it will be like a full blown version of our mainnet, but we'll only call it the full production once we are content enough with the battle testing. But the beta mainnet that will come, that will have like 95%, almost 95% of all the features of our network within this Q3 itself, I think. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. We have similar plans. We were just discussing about the phases of Harmony's mainnet, right? So well, by end of Q3, we are planning to have a full-blown mainnet, but there would be stages to it, like what we call phases, or V1, V0, V1, V2s. And as you know, we just launched our V0, but for V1, we were planning to increase the number of nodes that are uh, um, in the network. Right now, we have about
Already have a very solid number of nodes. I think I read somewhere 400 or 600 nodes or something
we
like
have
that.
600 nodes right now, uh, of which about 150 are operated by the community,
Mhm.
and we have 450. So the way FBFT works is, or even PBFT for in general, is you need to have control over. If you have control over, rather, two-thirds of the nodes, or two-thirds vote a certain way, that is how the block gets produced.
Okay.
So
Okay.
right now, the way like the way to thousands and millions of people is baby steps,
Mhm.
and the first thing to do is to make sure everything is secure. And so we control the network in V0.
Mhm.
In V1, we will let go of that control a little bit.
Yeah.
uh, there will be more nodes, so there would be the challenge of scaling. So
Yeah.
for going from 600 to 1600 nodes,
Mhm.
right, we would still control about 70%,
Okay.
um, which is 4% more
That,
security.
yeah.
But what will happen is there would be many more interesting features coming in, right? So we have to improve our networking layer, which is one of our key features. We build off libp2p, but we are planning to have eraser coding to improve our networking. Then we'll have the full staking mechanism. Right now, the V0 is a throttled mainnet, so you cannot send transfers, you cannot directly stake. The stake is sort of baked in for you.
Mhm.
And once we have like a smart contract to do it, then we can let people stake. Leaders would then we would incentivize the leaders to get more rewards in the FBFT scenario. And the randomness, which is one of the key features of Harmony, VRF and VDF based randomness to elect a new leader, is something we would implement. So many such interesting features. Of course, what is important is, and I want to ask you about this later, is adoption. But in the beginning, adoption for us looks like developer tooling and implementation of SDK. So
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely. Layer one.
that
I
is
completely agree. Yeah, I mean, for you, bootstrapping the network, will be a slightly like I clearly said that, for us, Ethereum being a bedrock over there and large number of developers, that's easier to get. For you guys, initially, you'll have to build a lot of tooling and environment around it, and then slowly, like the people will start coming. So that's very natural. But I think your strategy looks, very much aligned to the, the market environment and everything. And I expect you guys to do very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the end of Q3, we would have all the features, I would say, 2,400 nodes. And that time we would actually let go of the control.
Okay.
We would be scaling
By
down to.
the end of Q3 means like by Q3 itself, you will be after the full mainnet launch
Yes,
and 6.
that is the current promise, and hopefully
Nice.
we will keep it. Last mainnet release, we did it 2 days in advance, but this is definitely a considerable challenge.
Yeah.
So hopefully we keep our promise, and then obviously more auditing, more cross-shard smart contract if we can get to it. Fork choice rule, removing inactive validators who haven't voted for some time, and it's a lot of housekeeping and making it secure and robust is the phase 2 of our mainnet. So
And how do you have you guys implemented slashing already? Like
no,
in some.
that's phase 1. Yeah. Once we have a way for people to stake,
Mhm.
then we can also have a way to sort of slash.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we would love to like exchange notes on slashing. We also have a slashing mechanism, implemented in, for us. But we are like right now looking more. So maybe offline we can exchange some notes on slashing also. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And many exciting things. And I think it was Chandresh I was talking to offline, right? He was saying uh, what would happen when Matic and interoperable,
yeah,
when achieves interoperability and is one of your layer ones is Harmony, right?
yeah,
And I jokingly answered everything
yeah.
because once that is possible, uh,
It is like, with multiple layer ones later on, and having a, I call it homogeneous layer two, where assets can come to and fro between multiple chains. Who knows what kind of use cases are coming from, going to come from there? Like, you can move your asset from one chain to another chain. Is that possible? Is it possible to mint or initiate, or the asset gets born in some other chain, but it's available on some other chain, using the locking mechanisms and burning of those assets, in some other ones. That'll be like a truly sort of vibrant environment. And it is exciting days ahead. Like, we are still in stone age of
yes,
blockchain. uh,
absolutely.
the game has not even begun.
We are installing operating systems with our floppy disks right now and
Yeah,
taking. So,
yeah.
one thing
Very
I
good.
know. Sorry, go on.
I'm saying very good example, installing operating system via floppy disks.
I had we were discussing some analogy for people who are not super technical and trying to be interested in Harmony and Matic. And please correct me if I'm wrong. We were thinking, how can we describe it in a way that shows that we are very complementary and kind of necessary if we really want to bring this blockchain dream. And we were
Yeah,
thinking that we are kind of trying to work hard towards building a faster internet, and and layer 2 protocols, especially like Matic, are building a faster Wi-Fi so that
yeah.
your experience is improved. Would you generally agree with that analogy?
Yeah, I think in some sense, like, in a very, for a layman term, it makes sense. Yeah. Or what more we can say? Like, this is one example. Or is it like you guys are building the, or you guys are maybe laying the optical fibers, and what we are building is TCP/IP, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, that is also a good one, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Laying the
So, and there
infrastructure.
will be multiple layer twos, right? So there will be TCP/IP, there will be like other, Gopher protocol, FTP, and whatnot, right? So UDP, like I'm taking the other one there, but TCP/IP, UDP, and all that, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you guys are like British Telecom of optical fiber, right? Yeah, something like that.
One thing I noticed when I went through your website is you guys insist a lot on user. Uh, we all know this is a big pain point, right? Adoption can only happen when onboarding is easier, right? Did you guys, and you just told me you're signing up partners very at a rapid pace.
Yeah.
Any key insights that you realized?
Yeah. So, I mean, see, especially like, I give a lot of credit for that to Jayanti also. Jayanti comes from a retail, experience, like retail by mean retail, programming experience. So he was part of housing.com, which was at one time, it was considered to be most user friendly and, most innovative user experience company in
Mhm.
India, startup in India. So, user experience has been a very important part, and then it's a problem in blockchain also, and solving a lot of these developer issues. Like we started, like the first product of Matic was Dagger, which provided easy event receiving and, event receiving tool for dApp developers. That itself was a big pain. If you were a developer, I used to develop at that time, and,
Mhm.
integrating with the web sockets of Geth was a big pain, and those pub sub libraries was very, very difficult, and, we had developed that part. So user experience, and then one more thing is also, like you asked for the insight, so I would say that the other part is developer experience. So
Mhm.
user experience, still lot of people talk about, but we also talk about developer experience, and you will have to, work really hard on that, if you want more and more developers to come on your, which you also partly mentioned by tooling and all that essentially is developer experience only, right? And making it more and more robust, more documentation and easier to use and all that. So those are the things, like developer experience and focus on user experience are the things that is giving us a lot of success. And like today, I would say, like, I jokingly said that to somebody in the community, but then I realized that it actually means, so I said that by the number of, I'm not talking about the market price or market cap or whatever. What I'm saying, by the number of apps building on a particular platform, Matic would already be a top 10 platform in terms of dApp development platform. Because then I
That-
started, counting on my fingers, like, Ethereum, Tron, EOS, Cosmos, Polkadot. Who else? Like, all the other platforms are upcoming, and then there is less adoption and all that. And very few people are developing on some of the, like, maybe even $500 million chains. So that way, I'm like, I think I think that statement stands true, and it is going to happen more and more once, so Chainbreaker application from our side is going to come in. It's a very a nice game in decentralized virtual world, and it will fuel, I'm pretty sure will fuel large number of gamers to start seeing Matic as a very strong sort of option to have scalability.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. One thing, it's clearly your obsession with user and developer experiences seems to be paying off.
Yeah.
And is there any one decision? I won't say there's never one decision, but do you recall a scenario where you went with A instead of B because you said A is more hard work, but it improves user experience? Any such?
Yeah. I mean, I can give you a very important, like very simple, and very prominent example. So we had to, we had to implement fees in our network, like, how to charge the gas fees and stuff like that. And the easier way was simply to use Parity, because Parity already provides ERC20 based gas fees, right?
Mhm.
So that was very easy, and Parity, some of the times Parity nodes are also very, like, easy, and their syncing and all that is fine. But then the Parity nodes, with their kind of implementation, especially with the faster block production, like sort of proof of, like, I'll not call like proof of authority, but their faster block production version, which is like proof of authority version only. In our case, we don't have a POA layer. We have a proof of staked authorities kind of layer, which is the block producer layer, which is the last layer where randomly, authorities are selected. Kind of what all the, like in your case also, block production would be happening by a quorum that is getting selected out of the number of nodes there, and only few people will be producing the blocks and things like that. I'm not sure how exactly it works, but in most of the chains, it's like that only, that the block production happens with some people using a randomization system. So in our case also it happens the same. But with Parity, the thing was that they had clearly written that if you scale it beyond 4 or 5 nodes, it becomes difficult to have a 1 second block time. And we needed to ensure that we have to have 1 second block time, because 4 5 second also does not, is not a good experience for a end user at all. Max to max 2 to 3 seconds you can go. So we took the harder route, like, we especially like, I and Jayanti put our foot down that no, this is not happening. Even if it's more time, we have to set everything using the get node, which has 1 second block time and all that. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it reminds me of what we did with PBFT, right? Because we could have also picked up Tendermint and frameworks which were out there, and just take PBFT for free. But because we were able to write it ground up, we were actually able to optimize it, and we were able to sort of put technologies together, BLS and PBFT, and come up with a better solution. And now it's showing up in low latency, just like you guys. So yeah, that kind of obsession, I think, and that hard work pays multiple dividends.
It will pay in multiple, like, it will compound up in coming times. Pretty sure. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I just wanted to just give me a second. So awesome, Sandeep. We have some exciting news, I believe, and I want to give Sandeep the honor of announcing it.
Okay, thank you. So, for both the communities, we want to announce that we'll be, Harmony and Matic will be announcing a partnership amongst us. And, especially because Harmony is also a EVM based sidechain, EVM based layer one, and, upcoming one. And, there's a lot of buzz in the market about Harmony. And, we want to support in future, once we mature the Ethereum layer 2 very strongly. In future, we want to support more layer ones. And of course, the EVM enabled ones are the most easiest of ones for us. And then it will help Matic to have an interoperable kind of layer 2 environment. And then for layer ones like Harmony, which will be which are expected to get a lot of adoption in future, they will also need layer 2 low cost layer 2 solutions on the side chains to have massively mass adopted applications. So I believe that will be really good for both the projects to share the technical as well as adoption related synergies. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Matic, I think, is one of the top players in this area. From Harmony side, it was almost a no-brainer. And especially you guys are also with us in the Binance family. And uh, our CEO and I believe Sahil has also been speaking to you now and then. And I thought that there was a natural synergy. And you're absolutely right. Layer 1 and Layer 2 is... Layer 1 scalability, which Harmony is building, and Layer 2 scalability, which Matic is building, is an absolute win-win for the customer and for any dApp developer and anyone who wants to see the dream of blockchain, a truly decentralized, massive, everyone in the world using blockchain kind of dream to come true. So it fell in line with our dream of bringing blockchain to 10 billion people. People make fun of us for it, but somewhere in our idealistic minds, we believe it. And it's wonderful to have this partnership with Matic.
Absolutely, yeah. And then it's always good to share the research notes also. You guys also have recently the blockchain technical leadership talking about your design models and all that. So for us also, in proof of stake, we were discussing about sharing notes about slashing and all that. So it's good for both the teams to collaborate more and more. So yeah, we are already sharing a lot of questions and answers in between us. And once we formalize the partnership and all that, so I hope we'll dedicate some concerted time to sharing all of these things. Notes, we can share a lot with you guys on adoption and the user experience and all that. And you guys can share some proof of stakes, because you are doing on layer 1, so proof of stake related learnings and whatnot. Yeah.
Absolutely, Sandeep. And we have something like Game of Stakes, which we call Harmony Games, name to be decided, coming up, where we also want to tweak this staking and understand how it can be adversarial and how can people try to take advantage or game the system. And we would love to share those notes with you, and hopefully you get to participate too. As
Yeah, absolutely. And we are like, the thing is that, this game of stake actually was executed brilliantly by Cosmos team. And
yes,
I think every proof of stake project, like we are also proof of stake on the side chain. So we will also have to launch something like that. We are also planning the same in some time. And, it would be really, really cool to share the notes over there, because that's a experiential thing. Like,
yes.
human related issues you can't solve, via technical things. Like, you have to share more ideas. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So,
Spoken like a true operations man.
yeah, I'm like, I've been an operations man all my life. So, I see those things as human challenges, rather than,
You're so right, and that's where the user experience and uh, yeah, it's about, because even when we are bringing up our mainnet V0, right, a lot of it was operations.
yeah,
Helped by we have Aryan over here. I just wanted to give him a shout out. Helped by Aryan here, who is our intern, and helping basically nodes onboard and give them a good experience. It's a lot of operational work and user
awesome.
experience. Yeah. Awesome. So, would love to sort of wrap up our very interesting discussion. So we could probably talk for hours, sharing interesting ideas.
Mhm.
Uh, One of the very interesting things about Matic is it's a very prominent company coming out of India in this space. I don't know many others actually. Um,
There are none. We are like, currently, like, I don't want to be boastful, but everybody knows that Matic is the, like, sort of kind of becoming the blockchain of India. Almost every project in India is building on Matic, and yeah, I mean, we are like miles ahead of anyone else who's looking to from something in India. So it's a good, sort of competitive advantage for us, because we know where the developers are, where the ecosystems are, and everything. So it's good for us. And then we were discussing about, like, the we are now moving to the Silicon Valley of India, which is Bangalore, and
mhm.
trying to create a virtual crypto valley of India. It will also help us to unite our efforts in terms of communicating with the government, that because government is very bullish on blockchain. And
Yes.
Matic Network is also a smart contract platform. The currency, it's not a currency at all. Like, this, it's not competing with any kind of financial word or whatnot. So I think I'm very positive that we'll be able to convince the government very easily, because some of the use cases, some of the institutional clients who are building, which we will be announcing in some time, they are using actual real world applications on using blockchain as a backend. So those kinds of things would be very nice. And yeah.
That's awesome. And for people who are probably not, they don't know a lot about Indian context. What is the developer scene like? Maybe just one or two insights.
Yeah,
And
I know. I mean, see, I mean, even after this suppression, aggressive suppression in India, you will be surprised to know that India still has the second largest number of developers in blockchain. So
that's
there was a study which said that in US there are around 42,000 developers in US, in the Valley and all, and in India there is 25,000 developers. In spite of all this suppression and being aloof and away from this revolution and the ICO craze of 2017, where not many Indian companies were there. Even then, it's a huge number. And I always joke that if you create a country out of the number of developers, software developers out in India, it will be one of the biggest, most populous country in the list. Right? We have so many people. So it's obviously a big area of where you have a lot of developers working on various products. So yeah.
and you
So
have tried to curate and nurture some of them. I believe that's
yeah,
what.
I mean, see, we are trying to convert our adversity into opportunity. Like,
Mhm.
you guys are in Silicon Valley, you already have access to a lot of top-notch talent, and based in Cupertino, you have all the, like, big technology companies around you, talent. is available in that sense. So for us, it was not that easy in the earlier phases, but now we have reached a stage where, the top IITs and, like sort of the MITs of India, for, people who don't have the context of India, on all these technical colleges, they know Matic, because last year also only we did around 15 to 20 hackathons. This year we are going to do at least 40 to 50 hackathons. So it's a
Wow.
huge number, and this is apart from the ETH Global Hackathon. So we are anyways, core partners with ETH Global. So ETH India will be like, strongly present. We'll be doing a lot of activities from the developers and all that. Apart from that, we do, multiple hackathons in almost all the top T schools of India. And, that brand is like, there's a crypto community, right? The markets and telegrams and Twitter, right? But there is a brand of Matic which is, getting established in the grassroots levels in these, colleges, in the technical colleges. And then, the students that are coming out who want to build on Matic, want to build on blockchain, work on blockchain, they know that, okay, Matic is a project from India, and since it's Ethereum itself, the most documentation is available. Automatically, they gravitate towards that. So that's kind of a larger revolution that will, I think, that will be strong.
That's as someone who is Indian himself. That's very nice to hear, and I'm also happy to tell you that Harmony would be doing a tour of India coming November,
Yeah.
and for anyone watching, and we would love to share notes with you and understand.
Yeah,
But
you guys. I mean, I'm very sure that when you come here, we'll do something. Some meetup and everything. A developer meetup, maybe join together.
yeah,
And since you, as I said, that since you guys are also EVM based, so why not? And we can have developers there, and they can play around with the tools and everything, and see where it goes from there.
awesome. All right, so I think a lot of people know the Silicon Valley perspective, and so I would not spend too much time on it. But the thing is, it is true what Sandeep said. Talent is hard to come by or not available. Working for the best companies and getting paid a lot of money. So we have interesting challenges in that area. Of when you get them, they're good and great. It's just that getting them is a process, and for a fast-moving startup, sometimes it becomes a challenge. One of the great things about Silicon Valley, of course, is the free movement of ideas, and as Harmony, we also try to do that. A lot of we don't consider anyone competitors here. We have people from Near Protocol and Tron, and even others come down to our barbecues and
Yeah, your barbecue is famous. I miss
exchange
the barbecue.
interesting ideas.
Sahil was inviting me. He invited me 2-3 times. Every time some screw up happened and I couldn't come there.
No, it's we. The thing is, people get a feeling that we just eat and drink. There are actually a lot of interesting ideas are discussed there. And what is funny is I met Stephen like that actually, and that's how I got involved. And like so, it is a lot of meeting of very interesting people, and we are privileged in that we get this free flow of ideas, but we have a certain set of challenges with government regulation not being exactly the most friendly at this moment. But
Yeah.
yes, we can talk about this for hours, and I just wanted to say thank you to Sandeep for uh, coming and talking to us after a flight and after, I'm sure, a lot of traveling. So really appreciate it.
In fact, I should say thank you to you guys to arrange all of this, and arranging this meeting with me, and we could talk on a lot of things, and I got to know a lot more things, talking to you. And I mean, uh, your technical expertise is definitely like, very highly appreciated, and I will also keep coming back to you for understanding a lot of things about sharding.
Yeah.
I told you that I've been out of this, the technology piece for some time, and I think I'm outdated in sharding at least. So, it was good to have a chat with you. Uh,
Absolutely. And for everyone watching, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.